What is up, YouTube? It's your girl Evelyn, and today I will be defending the film Passing, even though it doesn't really need my help. It's a black and white period art film, aka critic porn. I've been looking forward to Passing for quite some time. I reviewed the novella over on my Patreon, I've made a community post about the film, and I just generally won't shut up about it. Well, I finally watched Passing. And I have thoughts. I also want to address the criticism the film's been getting. Some I agree with, and some I think is stupid. And don't worry if you haven't watched the movie, I will be recapping it first, which means I will be spoiling absolutely everything, so as always, proceed with caution. It's New York City, it's the 1920s, and it's hot as hell. People are literally passing out on the street. So Irene Redfield, an upper-class black woman with fair skin, decides to stop at a fancy hotel to sit in the shade for a bit. It soon becomes apparent that everyone in the hotel is white, and they think Irene is too. But our girl Irene just rolls with it. Because
so goddamn hot. Shit.
It's not long before Irene notices a white woman staring intensely at her and becomes afraid that the woman knows her secret.
Pardon me, I don't mean to stare, but I think I know you.
Turns out the sultry blonde with the Southern Belle accent is Claire Bilyeu, Irene's long-forgotten childhood friend. And the reason Irene didn't recognize Claire was because she didn't used to be white, and enthusiastic Claire invites Irene up to her hotel room for an alcoholic beverage. Then she slips into something a little more comfortable. They're interrupted by Claire's husband, John the Bigot Bilyeu. After sitting through John explaining one of the most creative uses of the N-word I've ever heard, Irene is disgusted and wants to get as far away from Claire and her racist husband as possible. And she does. Irene goes back home to Harlem and her black husband and black children and continues living her happy black life that might not be as happy as she lets on. A few days or weeks or months later, Irene receives a provocative letter from Claire.
There's more. I wouldn't feel this wild desire if I hadn't seen you.
Lesbian?
Irene ignores the letter, even though it's obvious she's thinking about Claire as much as Claire is thinking about her. So when Claire pops up unexpectedly, Irene can't resist her charms, and the two rekindle their friendship. They start hanging out, going to jazz clubs together, and eye-fucking each other every chance they get. As time goes on, their friendship becomes more and more complicated, and Irene's home life becomes more and more rocky. Not long into their newly rekindled friendship, Irene grows jealous of Claire and Brian's closeness, although which one of them she's jealous of, we're never really sure. The whole thing comes to a head when Irene runs into Bigot John while out shopping with her friend Felice, a non-passing black woman.
You're black!
Irene tries to warn Claire about Bigot John, but truth be told, she doesn't try that hard, because by this point, Irene loves Claire almost as much as she hates her. Not to mention, Claire is having the time of her life in Harlem, and even tells Irene that maybe she'll leave her white life behind and come live with Irene and her family. And Irene's like,
No.
In the film's final act, Brian, Irene, and Claire are attending a party when a very angry Bigot John shows up, demanding to see his wife.
Dirty liar.
The first criticism I want to defend Passing against is my own.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Last month in my November upcoming releases video, I was adamant that I really hoped Passing would be gay. I don't know how gay the film adaptation will be. I've been burned before by queerbaiting trailers, but I really hope that's not the case with Passing. Now, before everyone calls me a big gay-mo for wanting everything to be gay, even though I do, Nella Larson did in fact write about repressed homosexuality in passing, and not just between Claire and Irene, but Irene's friend Hugh was also in the closet.
Bianca and co are always raving on about the good looks of some Negro, especially an unusually dark one, like Ralph Hazelton there.
After reading the novella, I assumed the only reason Irene and Claire didn't get together was because the book was written in the 1920s.
Because Nella Larson couldn't write about repressed homosexuality. And in a way, I think it would have been a betrayal to state it obviously.
After watching Passing, it seems like Irene, Claire, and even Hugh's orientation was purposefully left undefined to serve as examples of the various ways the characters pass.
I just mean, we're all of us passing for something or other. Aren't we?
Irene seemed to be equally attracted to and repelled by Claire, and it's impossible to consummate a desire like that. One of the problems with the casting here is that Tessa Thompson is too dark to be mistaken for being a white woman. Maybe if Miss Hall cast the two leads with women who looked like herself, ladies we could actually believe were able to pass as white. Number one, neither Ruth Negga or Tessa Thompson would ever be mistaken for white.
We shot in black and white for a number of reasons, but one was to take out the idea of complexion. And so there was great freedom. And the truth is, if we hadn't shot in that way, I probably wouldn't be in this movie, you know?
This is the criticism I've come across more than any other, and I can't help but feel like it's a missing the forest for the trees type of critique. I get it. The film is about a black woman posing as a white woman. But like I said before, it's also about all the ways in which everyone passes to some degree. Also,
It's fiction.
I'm not particularly interested in cinematic reality being the same as our reality.
Fuck you, fuck your mama, fuck your daddy, fuck the horse you rode in on.
personally, I believe Claire's look is intentional. She looks not just white, but unnaturally white. Everyone in the film is passing, but Claire is passing in the most obvious way. And I feel like she was meant to look more like a caricature of a white woman than an actual white woman. And I think this was a purposeful choice made by the director, one that I actually really liked. It is slow. A snooze fest. In spite of some powerful lines, the screenplay is dull. Stylish looking, but just a bit lacking. Interesting shots, but lack of storytelling. It was confusing and empty. This is the criticism that probably has the most merit. Some of the folks who didn't read the novella found the film to be boring and confusing, and they're kind of right. As an uncultured peasant of ill repute who reads very little classic literature, I thought the novella was fascinating, but not super compelling. It's basically just people visiting each other's houses and chatting, which I'm guessing was probably the popular style of literature during that era. I don't know. Was the film boring with a capital B? No, not at all. But was it boring with a little teeny tiny b? A little bit. Now, whether or not you found the film boring is mostly subjective, but less subjective is the film's ability to successfully convey plot points and character motivations. And this is where I think Passing, well, fails. In addition to tons of dialogue, the novella also has tons of internal monologue.
For all the things that she doesn't ever think or say, there are many things that Nella Larson herself articulates that are inside of Irene's head.
No matter how talented of an actor you have, it's impossible to convey 3 pages of internal monologue with a single look.
Who are you?
It seems the director didn't want to stray too far from the source material. which I understand, but the story needs to fit the medium. A book is different than a film, and a film is different than a TV show. A TV show is different from a play, which is different from a musical, which is different from an opera, and you get it. Now, the director did change a few things from the novella, but I think maybe if she changed a few more things, the film would have been easier to follow for those unfamiliar with the source material. I wish I could have rated it higher than 7 stars, but the ending is overwrought. Did she kill her friend in the end? The end is pretty rush, I suppose, and it ends pretty quick in my opinion. A surprising number of people were confused by the film's ending, or I should say, the ending's lack of transparency, which is the point. You're not supposed to know if Claire jumped or was pushed, and by whom, if anyone. It's entirely open-ended. Hey everyone, it's Editing Evelyn here. I'm sorry because I know this video's already ridiculously long, but I had to jump in because I've been watching the final scene frame by frame and just discovered that you can see exactly what happened to Claire. I repeat, you can see exactly what happened to Claire. I kind of can't believe Rebecca Hall made it so clear. I don't want to say what happened, at least not in a video, because I think what makes Passing so good is how ambiguous the ending is. But if you want to know, it's in the film and it is clear as day. Passing is the kind of film that leaves you feeling frustrated and ultimately unsatisfied, and I believe it does that on purpose. The act of passing is a hollow thing. You can never be fully whole and complete when you're passing. There will always exist that underlying fear of being found out, and you can never fully be yourself without putting that same self in danger, which is why Claire was doomed from the start. She was always fully herself while passing, which ended up being the literal death of her. I think Passing is a film that gets better with repeated viewings, particularly if you haven't read the novella and don't plan to. It is a stunning looking film. It is a well acted film. It is not the most compelling film, and if you do watch it, be warned. It will leave you unsatisfied in almost every way possible. Although, I can't think of anything more unsatisfying and tragic than being forced to live an entire life predicated on a half-truth. That is it for the video, and if you're still watching at this point, I don't even know what to say. You're amazing. I love you. Thank you for letting me get a little film nerdy this week. I do have a patron shout out, but because this video is kind of long and I'm pretty sure we've lost so many along the way, I will give you a shout out in the next video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.